Friday.
Happy Friday. So cute, by the way. Love your hair.
Thank you. I actually washed it today. Fridays we wash our hair
Today?
sometimes.
It's a good hair day. Oh my goodness, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good. It's been so long since we've chatted. Yeah.
I think it was probably close to a year ago. We
Yeah,
met
it was
Lindsay.
Lindsay's event.
Yeah,
hmm
so fun.
Yeah, yeah. Things have been
Awesome.
good. I'm excited
So, do you want to get started?
yeah, whenever you're ready.
Awesome.
hmm
So what made you decide to be a dietitian?
So I started originally as an exercise science major, and I was like doing some job shadowing my like freshman year of college, thinking maybe physical therapy, and then I was like, oh, that's kind of boring. Started to learn more about dietetics, and it was just like, okay, this seems like it has more options. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll start researching this because my college didn't have it. I had like looked at some schools that had it, so it was like in my thought like senior year, but I found that Kansas State had an online program. So I was like, okay, like talk to my advisor. My advisor at Sinton, actually, she's wonderful. We're still good friends. She was a dietitian. So it was really nice to kind of have her perspective too and chat with her about ideas. So basically I just kind of got started on some of those like harder science classes. And I was like, okay, I'll start laying the groundwork so I can do Kansas State's program. But I was still like, I don't really know what area of dietetics I wanted to do. I was thinking maybe like public health, just kind of figure it out. Then come like pandemic. That was my junior year of college.
Oh, okay.
So I was like right around that time, actually. I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, I have some acne, like maybe I want to try using birth control, like starting to kind of research some of my own stuff. I was also a college athlete, so just like fitness, like very intense exercise all the time, a lot of stress, right? So I had a lot more time, obviously, as many of us did, in the pandemic. I had gone on the birth control, had a really bad reaction, come off of it. My skin was flaring up. I had like a lot of acne issues come up after that I think I was already kind of disposed to, but like the birth control kind of sparked that. So yeah, kind of have some beef with birth control. But anyways, then I really started learning more about like functional medicine.
That's awesome.
Functional nutrition, reading like Dr. Jolene Brighton and starting to just read some more naturopathic medicine stuff. And ended up still, sticking with obviously dietetics, which I would say I'm still very happy I did that. But I also was like toying with the idea of going to naturopathic medical school, which actually one of my girlfriends is just about finished from college.
That's cool.
I think that would have been a lot of school for me. So anyways, realized like, from shadowing some more functional dietitians and like I worked with one for a little, but like I could kind of blend a lot of my interests. I could still order blood work if I wanted to, and it combined some of that. So yeah,
that's really awesome.
Here.
So I have so many questions based on that. Actually,
Yeah.
I went to Simpson too. That's so much fun. Did we talk about that?
Did you say you went to Simpson? No, I don't remember.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm older than just a little bit. But I went to Simpson too, so that's so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Second thing, do you have a master's then, or is it?
So now, starting in 2024, dietitians were required to get a master's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I begin and get my schooling done before that, so I don't have one, but I did have to do. We have like an internship process, like 1,000 hours of like schooling after your degree. So yeah, right now I have exercise nutrition degrees. I'm kind of good on degrees for now.
Totally understandable. No, that's really cool. And then the last question I had is, do you have like a specific focus then? I know you mentioned like, more natural, naturopathic type stuff. Do you have like a specific population you work with, or do you everyone just like with more natural options? What's that look like?
Yeah, so after I finished my school, I worked for WIC, which is Women, Infants, Children. I worked in long-term care for a little bit. While I was like, I had my practice, I was on the Instagram grind, getting clients, but it was not my full-time income, and it still is not. And I now work with a company called Nourish, which is an awesome company. I didn't know about them until 6 months ago, and then I just like applied and immediately got hired, which was awesome. But I think, they needed dietitians with a couple years of experience, so I'm like, I don't know if I would have even gotten hired right out of school. But anyways, they do just virtual appointments where they do the billing for dietitians. So it's I've tried like learning the insurance process in Iowa. It's kind of confusing. I've had some dietitians tell me like don't even deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically once I found this company, I was like, great, like I can focus on what I like to do, which is like the one-on-one stuff. They bill insurance. So on that platform, I'm able to designate, my what I want to see. So I do have like women's health. I love to do PCOS, endo,
That's
just
awesome.
general perimenopause, weight loss. Definitely do see a lot of people who are focused on that. Some disordered eating, health. I mean, even like fitness, health optimization. So yeah, kind of have specialty, I guess I
Yeah.
would say. But I do work with some men. Um, so yeah,
You'll get like a little bit of variety. That's awesome. What's your favorite thing about what you do?
variety. Definitely building relationships. Like it's something where the type of counseling I do, like we're gonna have follow-ups. We're not just gonna have like one appointment and goodbye, right? Like I want to have that long-term follow-up. So that's really fun, seeing people and getting to know them over the long term. I'm also love though the functional nutrition side of things and learning more about blood work and supplements and how we can go just beyond just food, right? Sometimes we need
Right.
a little bit of a deeper approach. So I
Oh,
do,
me. Yeah.
yeah, learning some of that and helping people not need medications. I mean, that's definitely something I'm very passionate about. I think there's a time and place for them, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people just don't realize there's more that they can do to taper off of a medication and not need it forever.
Right. I think that's so important. And there's a lot of people that desire that, but they don't know how to make that transition. So it's really, really cool that you offer that type of a service for people in the community. By the way, I'm so sorry if my phone is out. It's like 10 years old, so it keeps like making weird noises. I'm
Right, we're good. We're good.
Um, so you mentioned blood work. Do you order blood work for everyone? Are there certain specific labs you tend to order more? What's that?
Yeah, so I do not order blood work for everyone. That's kind of an add-on service. Unfortunately, most of the labs that we look at in functional medicine are not covered by insurance. So yeah, it's an add-on. I mean, I love to see, do they have an A1C, insulin, triglycerides, vitamin D, anything that iron panels, like thyroid, that people do get, like we can look at it. But when we're, doing deeper panels, it's all going to be more out of pocket. So kind of base it on where they're at. But I do have I call it, and it's on my website. I have some information about it called my foundations panel that like is more my entry level panel that I think is good to just check and get more of a whole body system look. And then there's like GI map Dutch tests that are really cool, really comprehensive. But I also don't always think it's like ones we have to start with. If we can learn a little more about other things, we can start there. So
Cool. So you've been in practice for a while, obviously learning about nutrition longer. You were in school. For most individuals, do you have like a certain place you recommend that they start? Like basic, bare bones, like where would you have people at?
yeah, yeah, I like to start with what I call the CPF plus meal method, right? So every meal we want to try to include carb, protein, fat, plus some fiber. That can really help with us feeling more full with meals, keeping blood sugar more stable. Blood sugar is definitely a big piece for a lot of my clients. We just have too much highs and lows in blood sugar. So I'm just starting there. And then I would say going to, can we just limit processed foods? Like more whole foods, right? More plant-based foods along with your protein. Protein is kind of all the rave, but we still want to focus on like quality too.
Right.
um, so yeah, I think that's a really great place to start and just making tweaks there. I know for me as an athlete, like I was really under eating at times or just too carb focused. And carbs are really important for athletes, don't get me wrong. But I was like missing out on the key proteins and fats. And that's partly why my body wasn't producing a period. Like
Right.
you need all of those things. So definitely the age of the person and their goals will make a difference in those. But I personally don't really love to focus so much on numbers and calorie tracking right away. Like just focusing on quality and then exercise too. I mean, that's a big thing I talk about, and I have an app now that I've been using for programming and having like a lower option for people who want to work with me and just do the fitness option is are we lifting? Are we building muscle? Do we have muscle on our body? That is so important if you want to lose weight and just age well, is that you have muscle.
Right. So many people just think, oh, I'm going to jump into cardio. I'm going to go run. And
Mm-hmm.
they maybe gain weight or they get extra blow. They understand. And you're like, oh, well, here's why. You
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I'm right there with
For
that.
sure. Um,
Are
yeah.
there nutrition practices that you do like love and use often, aside from that one you just shared?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another one I had written down is there's a couple. So once you're like kind of feeling good about your quality of food, you're eating consistently, and like I think like binge restrict cycles, right? That's a big thing I see, especially for women. Like food can be an emotional thing for sure. Like using food to calm stress, calm emotions. Same with drinks, same with alcohol, right? So definitely diving into that. Once you deal with those emotional triggers, right, then it becomes a lot easier to stay consistent. Meal planning too. I mean, what is your process? Can you eat the same meals repeatedly? That can simplify things. It's like you don't need 50 recipes. You really only need 10, 20, maybe
Right.
at the most, right? Which sounds kind of like a lot, but we do, right? As humans, we eat the same things pretty repeatedly. So can you just adjust those recipes to be enjoyable and simple and that have that balance, right? Even if it is pizza or pancakes, right? There's ways we can modify that to fit that CPF plus and to have a little extra of this or that. Um, so that's a big one. And then I would say, like, I don't love to start with removing
Right.
things, right? We want to focus on adding in. But with that being said, when I do run blood work, one of the things I'll look at is gluten like sensitivity. And there's a couple genes actually I can test that tell me, are you more prone to developing gluten sensitivity? Same with like methylation. And these are getting a little more nuanced, but there are some little things that people just don't always realize can really contribute to things like autoimmunity if they
Right.
are sensitive to a food. So we still want to work on the gut health, right? I never think the food is the main only thing causing it, but it can make things worse. So is sugar or gluten or alcohol like really triggering symptoms? Can we take a break? Can we back up from them and see how we do? I'm a multivitamin. It sounds so simple, but if we're using like birth control, we have a lot of stress. Our body needs more vitamins
Right.
and minerals. So there are ways we can test and we can really see what do you need. But I do get most of my clients just on a good multivitamin, or maybe even like having some liver in their diet. That's going to add some different variety of nutrients that are harder to get from just their food. So
Absolutely. I think that's so important. And a lot of people don't realize that birth control actually can deplete like extra nutrients from your body. I actually had a conversation with a patient yesterday. She was shocked. I was like, it's how your body processes things, so it does affect you.
really,
Sure.
any medication really, it can add that
Yeah,
extra in our liver.
your body
Um, so
detoxifying rid of it, and then you're taking it constantly, constant feedback.
yeah.
Thing that people don't think about. But yeah, you have a good quality multivitamin that you do recommend. I know, like for my, a lot of the time they're pregnant or postpartum. Are you still taking your prenatal? And if they aren't, then I say I would go back on it, right? But do you have anything in particular personally that you recommend?
Yeah, and I I always look for like, does it have the methylated form of the
Yeah,
full,
I'm
right? That's one of the key things I'll look at. Um, and then I also look at like the variety of nutrients. Like I would just say more the better. Some people will disagree with me on that, but I think your body will pull what it needs. That's what one of my mentors has really taught me, is that just give a lot of a little bit, right? Your body will pull what it does need. And then, yes, pursue testing if you want to learn more in depth.
specific.
But start with, for younger women, like a more comprehensive one, I think is better. But there's going to be nutrients that kind of interact and you can't absorb them both at the same time, like magnesium, right? There's not going to be a lot of magnesium in most multivitamins because you can't really absorb it with other nutrients. Anyways, the brand that I have liked for a long time is Pure Encapsulations. They have one called
Yeah.
Women's Nutrients. It says 40 plus on there, but you can take it at any age. And then my next favorite that I recently have been looking at is called Needed. I think that one's yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
Designs by Health. They have a good prenatal. It's like 8 capsules a day, but it's a pretty good one. I feel like the Pure Encapsulations one is really quite similar actually to the prenatal as far as variety of nutrients. So yeah, those are some of my favorites. But again, just looking more at like methylated B vitamins, variety, vitamin A. You can definitely. I mean, that's one handout I give a lot is like how much vitamin A is in your multi. If you are doing liver and cod liver oil, like there is a point where you could have toxic amounts of that. So you just want to be aware of the vitamin A and same with vitamin D. You can get too much eventually. So yeah.
And that's why testing is important.
It is, yes.
Okay, so this was like the favorite question that I came up with. I your answer. If you had to pick one, what diet fad is your biggest red flag?
Carnivore. It's got to be carnivore. It's like the fiber. We need fiber. I just can't get on board with that one. But I honestly do feel like with every fad diet, it can work for certain people. That's the thing. That's why they blow up because somebody truly did get better with it. Like there are reasons that maybe on carnivore, like their candida died off. I've heard that, and I'm like, honestly, that could happen. Or they were really sensitive to gluten, like they just got better. But for the general population, fiber is so necessary. So I feel like keto is a close second though, because that one is just very hard to actually do.
Right.
And like really truly maintain. So
and I feel like the best diet for you, quote unquote, you want to be safe, but like is the one you're gonna actually follow, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I recently read the book Fast Like a Girl, just to kind of like learn. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a fairly popular book about fasting for women based on stages in their cycle. And I haven't really like implemented it yet, and I don't know that I will. I know a lot of people bash fasting, but it's kind of interesting to hear this doctor's perspective. She claims to have a ton of clinical experience applying these principles with real humans, which I do think can have some value that, just because it hasn't been fully studied yet, but still the hormonal fluctuations can make a big in like when should you fast and how much, and it's pretty nuanced. So I wouldn't want people to just start it as their first thing.
Don't go out and do it to do it. Yeah, and I think it is so different for men and women. Men, like you probably know, are on the circadian rhythm 24-hour cycle, but women are on a monthly cycle and a circadian rhythm cycle. And so it's kind of like, oh, when do you want to fast? Not want to fast. But for men, they're like, I fast and feel great. I used to fast a while back, like probably 10 years ago. And I just felt like I would have good energy, but then by the end of the day, it was just like I was done because I would fast overnight and then I would eat breakfast and then I would fast all day. But your workouts are kind of garbage then. It's just kind of one of those things where did I lose a lot of weight? Yeah, but could I do much else? Not really, So.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be something that, yes, you can maintain, and it's like, what do I need to be looking at? Can I track blood work, heart rate variability, body composition, and like, yeah, it gets very nuanced, I feel like, in some of those cases.
Yeah, getting into the weeds a little bit, but yeah, just a personal story about it, I guess.
I really have improved my period symptom skin so much with the CPF Plus, like eating my carbs with my fats and proteins, not under eating, but also just like not having to track a lot, like just being more and taking good
thinking too, like being conscientious of what you're eating is a huge deal, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Share your favorite story about when someone was working with you and it positively impacted their life and health. Like, what's your favorite testimonial story?
Yeah, probably my favorite testimonial is from a client who came to me, and I knew her in college. So that's what's kind of funny is like I knew, that she was super healthy, like active, super positive person, like somebody that you wouldn't, think was having all these issues in like her early 20s. And she was having like extreme anxiety come up, like nerve tingling, like even like numbness and period issues, like, and had kind of had some gut issues throughout her life, but like didn't really think anything of it. Like went to the doctors, like specialists, didn't find anything, like no autoimmune things they could diagnose, no nerve things they could diagnose, right? So she like went that way and was kind of just like, what do I do? Like this is derailing my life, literally. And turns out like extreme gluten sensitivity and did take out dairy for a while, like needed some vitamin mineral support, did do some testing, right? And just some of those mindful tweaks, she was under eating, like despite, eating fairly clean, like under eating, which doesn't help with hormone production, right? And so she has, felt so much better in 3-6 months. And still, is her health perfect now? Like, no. There's still, I think, some hormonal imbalance that we haven't fully addressed, but so much better. And like, so happy. Yes, like,
Wording.
and I mean, kind of same with my symptoms were so flaring for a while that I was like, what is going on, right? Like, I live so healthy, I thought, but it's just we don't always understand like how the female body does process things and like some of those more nuanced supplemental things that we can be doing. So yeah, that's one of my favorites.
My life was really impacted by changing nutrition. So I mentioned, I had tried fasting, but what really ended up happening is I did have a really extreme activity, and I would get migraines, and I would throw up, and I would throw up for hours and hours and hours if I ate gluten. And so finally eliminating that just kind of like it really changed my life, because now I only get those bad migraines like once every 3 months, if that. So combination of eliminating and then getting started with school, that really helped me overcome some of those challenges. But it makes a huge difference. Some of those other things weren't as impacted for me, at least, but I had a traumatic brain injury 2 in a row. I cheered in college, and I did competition cheerleading at Iowa Central. And so I had those 2 in a row, and then my headaches were just getting worse and worse and worse and more frequent. And I don't know if you've ever looked into it. I went to a lunch and learn, and they talked about how once you have a traumatic brain injury, you have those gap junctions in your gut, the gap junctions in your brain, and gluten can more easily cross the brain barrier. I thought that was so fascinating. But yeah, that was really life changing for me post those 2 concussions. And so yeah, when you're talking about gluten sensitivities and stuff, like it can be so life changing for people. But you want to make sure, again, you said like you aren't just eliminating things to eliminate them. You want to be sure that that's kind of what's on with you too. But yeah, I had done an elimination diet to figure it out. I think elimination diets can be kind of helpful. I don't have an opinion on elimination diets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they are truly the gold standard. Even food sensitivity testing, the technology is still kind of like not fully there to replicate our immune system. Like, I just had heard a really great presentation on that from some dietitians who are really in the field, like PhDs in immunology, and like they get it, right? And they're like, it's great. And I still, some of my mentors too, they're like, no, we can still use it. Like, it can still be really helpful for certain clients to look at that testing. But for things like that, if you can just give your body a break for about 3 months, see how you add it back in, that is gold standard. Try that first, or along with the testing, whatever route you want to go. Because I also think it's like, how is the gut functioning? We add in gut support, so you don't have as much leaky gut. Add in probiotics. But yeah, no, that's really interesting about the brain and gut. What did you call it? The gaps.
Junctions is what they're called. Yeah, I just thought that was fascinating. And I don't know if that's like current research, because I started chiropractic school, gosh, I'm getting old, so like ago now. But yeah, I would be curious if it's the same now. So what else do you have going on in your practice kind of haven't already covered? I know we've talked a little bit more about the nutritional aspect of things, but I know you mentioned you also have your exercise science degree. How do you kind of incorporate those two things and mesh them together with your programs and stuff?
Yeah. So through Nourish, I do a lot of nutrition, like counseling, right? We're just mostly focused on food. Might talk a little bit about exercise, but in my practice, I consider it a little bit more holistic. Like, usually in giving those clients a workout program, like I said, I also now have my app set up where women can just join that as like a community for programming. They don't have to do appointments with me. You don't have to do blood work, right? It's just for the app has strength training, has recipes. We have a community in there with like challenges, things like that. So that's a newer thing. Really excited about that. And then I do memberships now. So they're fairly flexible as far as if you want to do blood work, if you don't want to. But that's really my goal, is that you're having someone who can regularly order some of those functional labs that we don't know about, whether that's yearly, every 6 months, to work on some of those more intricate things in our bodies.
That's really awesome. And then last but not least, if someone does want to work with you, you've mentioned the app a couple of times, but how can they get more of you, how people work with you, or maybe on a one-on-one basis or on a kind of like group basis?
Yeah. So checking out my Instagram. I do have a podcast I don't record every single week, but have some episodes on there to learn more about some of my favorite topics and teachings, or just book a call. It's called Unfiltered Nourishment. That's my
Nice.
business name. Yeah. Otherwise, just going on my website, checking out my services. You can book a call too, to just always chat and see what might fit you best.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So much for joining me today. Are you going to get out and enjoy the weekend? It's supposed to be so nice out.
Yes, definitely. Tonight I'm going to my boyfriend's soccer game. He coaches soccer. And
Nice.
like tomorrow, yeah. And then I have a wedding actually, so I have to spend some time in the car, sadly. Drive there.
Down, I don't know. No, that's awesome. Well, have a great weekend. Thanks again. Let's chat soon, okay? Bye.
Bye.